Where are you meant for more? Last week's episode left you with some homework. What? Is that what you're saying? I know, but once a teacher, always a teacher. Last week, I asked you to slow down from the hustle and bustle and tap into your heart and ask yourself, what do you want? What does your heart want? Where do you know and feel that you're meant for more? Welcome to the Kathy A. Davis podcast. If you are ready to crack through the armor to find your true self, to find your inner power, to unleash that power, and so you can begin to feel as though you are coming back home, back to the person you were before the world told you who to be, you are in the right place. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Now, if you haven't listened to episode 1 or haven't done that homework, I hope that you do set a little bit of time, set aside some time in the next 24 hours to do it. One of the biggest life lessons that I've had is when we have this inkling or this inspiration, when we take action within 24 hours, it really starts to plant that seed. And I want you to act on the inspiration from this episode and tap into where you feel you're meant for more. Where do you want to go? What are the dreams in your hearts? What are the ideas that you have? And today's episode hopefully will bring you some inspiration and some excitement and some enthusiasm to take those actions. I want to start off by asking or answering, I suppose, the question, what is the American dream? And I said a few minutes ago, who were you before the world told you who to be? I want you to consider, what does the world tell us is the American dream, the American success story? And it's interesting because I did a little bit of research and Merriam-Webster pops up with an example under their definition of the American dream in their online dictionary. And I'll put the site down below. The American dream example is, with good jobs, a nice house, 2 children, and plenty of money, they believed they were living the American dream. I want you to think about that, because that is depicting what the world thinks the American dream is. Now, for those of you who may not know, in 2018, my husband, John, who you'll hear a lot about on this podcast, and we redefined our belief and example of the American dream, and we haven't looked back. I'm going to read to you an excerpt from the chapter that I wrote in Absolute Vision, and I'll put the link in the show notes below for all of this. But I want to read this to you, and then let's dig into how John and I redefined our example of the American dream. Cue the butterflies. Kathy A. Davis. A single tear slid slowly down my cheek. I saw this, I said to myself. It's happening. As I paused to soak it all in, I looked around at the tall trees gently swaying in the breeze. The crunchy leaves fluttering to the ground were a sign of autumn. It felt as though the world had stopped, and I was the only one sitting under the trees, experiencing the moment I had seen in my mind for so long. I could feel the flutter of butterflies in my abdomen, almost as if they were being released with each exhalation. The tear symbolized joy, accomplishment, a deep connection with my goals and dreams and everything I had imagined this risky life decision to be. And as I got up from the picnic table to walk inside and tell my husband that it was happening, I thought back to how we got here, to this amazing moment. Let's pause for a word from our sponsors. Does the January weather have your skin feeling drained and depleted? Let's face it, sometimes winter just demands a little extra TLC for our skin and body. Am I right? Well, our sponsor, Osea Malibu, knows that body care matters, and their Undaria algae body butter can help you have a healthier and glowier skin all year long, even in the winter. This product is one of my favorite body care products from Osea because it leaves my skin feeling hydrated and smooth despite the winter weather conditions. It's rich and buttery texture transforms my skin with a non-greasy feel. I love it. But I love Osea Malibu for other reasons too. They are a clean, vegan, cruelty-free, and climate-neutral company that has been in business for over 27 years with their seaweed-infused products that are safe for your skin and the planet. With them, I don't have to choose between my values and my best skin. Start the new year fresh with clean and vegan skincare and body care from Osea Malibu. Right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code Kathy A. Davis at OseaMalibu.com. You'll receive free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use code Kathy A. Davis for 10% off. I will drop the link and the code in the show notes. But trust me, don't let yourself go another day without this amazing, hydrating skincare product. Are you on the edge of your seat? Do you want to know what that moment was? So in late 2017, my husband and I started to explore the idea of traveling the United States full-time in an RV. And I remember the conversations went a lot like, oh, we could do this, or what if we did this, or what if instead of buying the land and the house that we're looking at, what if we bought an RV and traveled full time? And while things seemed so far off in the distance, like that's not going to happen right now because realistically, we were living the American dream. I mean, no children, but we had plenty of money, double income, no kids, living in our nice house with our good jobs. We had so many things that were the dream. Why would we sell all of that and travel, right? And as you'll hear through the story, a lot of things would happen that would lead us to, quote, pull the trigger, end quote, sooner than anticipated. In building up to all of this adventure, we watched YouTubers who were living in their RVs or those that were starting to make the transition to full-time life. And we were just in awe and so inspired by their adventures and experiences. And honestly, with each passing day, we became more and more obsessed and a bit more excited about this potential life path. Now, RV life would be a big pivot from our in-office 9-to-5 jobs with our commutes and our 24 square foot house, 3 floors, 3.5 bathrooms. Like we lived in a lot of space. And now in the RV, we're living in about 310 square feet. But we knew the changes. We'd researched the pros and the cons. We made a budget. We understood the new fees we would incur, different internet costs, different insurance costs, expenses on fuel. All of that was taken into consideration. And honestly, over the last 5 years, we haven't had very many surprises in terms of, budgetary expenses. Yes, some maintenance things or some repairs had to be done, but overall, what we expected is what's encountered. And honestly, isn't that how life is? What you think about, you bring about. We experienced some losses over that end of 2017, early 2018 that further solidified how short life can be and helped nudge us closer to this wild leap of faith into RV living. So I'm going to set the stage for you. It's winter, February 2018 in Western Pennsylvania. There's snow on the ground, and we decide it's time to visit an RV dealership. So here I am in my jeans. They were probably like skinny jeans that, tightened at the ankle, and I had my cute little ballet flats on because I think those were in 2018. And I have my winter coat on and my scarf. And we're walking around the dealership on this icy, snowy, looking at campers. And it's so far off from what you think you're going to be doing in the winter, right? February, you're like tucked in with your fireplace and your book, and you're not really out looking at recreational vehicles that typically are used in summer months. So in February, we started spending time at the truck dealers and at the RV dealers, and we looked at different models. And honestly, we were just hoping for some warmer weather where we could explore really all of these RVs had to offer, opening windows, looking in the basements, the storage areas. And there were some shocking things we found. We noticed that some of the RVs had nicer kitchen layouts than our townhouse did, even a nicer backdrop for our YouTube channel. They had king-size beds, which After we realized they could have a king size bed, that became a non negotiable. And they had these beautiful open floor plans that we could actually see ourselves in. And now, with all the advancements in RV layouts and the options, these things seem very common. But to us, as newbies to this whole RV living, it lit up all the wow factors. It was like ding, 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 right? We would walk through these models and we would talk about where the litter box would go for our cats and how we could position the camera for the veg inspired YouTube filming and how we would set up our little outdoor space. And with each model that we walked through, with each experience, we could see more of this potential life path working for us. And we even commented on, oh, it's so cute that they have a fireplace. We would probably use that more for ambiance than heat because we're going to chase the climate. That's definitely a misconception. I'm pretty sure it was in the 30s where we are right now last night. So we've spent a little bit more time using that cute fireplace than we had anticipated. And I remember back, it was the spring of 2018. So now the weather's warming up, Western New York, Western PA, where we're spending a lot of time between our family's homes and our own house. We're on the back patio of my aunt's house and we spread the news to our entire extended family that we're considering this unconventional life pivot. And the comment was made, make sure you buy a Ford. And spoiler alert, we did. We're not sponsored by Ford. But I thought it was funny that they were like, buy a Ford as your tow vehicle. And that's what we did. But anyway, as the story continues on, we met with our real estate agent in July. And she came to meet with us and we told her we were going to put our house on the market. And I remember we're sitting down around our dining room table in our townhome. And I remember her saying, are you sure you don't want to keep it and maybe rent it out? And that was the first time where those butterflies that I talked about in my intro or in the earlier part of this episode really started to make themselves known. And John and I had already decided we were not going to go that route. We had watched enough of the YouTubers and seen the stories and read enough and done enough research. We tried the whole keeping the condo when we moved from North Carolina to PA and renting it out. And honestly, it was more of a hassle. And so we told her no. We were putting it on the market. So within a month, the house was on the market. That was August. We'd started the downsizing process. Most of our belongings were in piles. Either they were going into the RV with us, like books, some of our kitchen gadgets, or they had been moved into the garage, ready to be tagged up and set up for the community garage sale, which would happen in September. All through this time, we're going about our life. We're going to work. We're getting groceries. We're engaging in our traditional standard American life. And the only people who know that we're considering, again, still considering this life path are those closest to us, our family. We hadn't made any announcements on the Veg Inspired account. I hadn't told my boss yet. Like, all of this was just kind of happening behind the scenes. Throughout all of it, I kept seeing this moment in my mind where I was sitting at a picnic table under these trees, these very tall trees, and the autumn leaves were on the ground and there was sun shining, and I was wearing a black t-shirt and jeans, and I was drinking out of my Yeti, which I still have, and I was working on my computer outside. And I had this vision. And I had that vision every morning when I walked into work. I held that vision and I was like, I know I'm going to be sitting outside at a picnic table and I am going to be working from this picnic table. I couldn't see where, like, everything else was kind of fuzzy, but I could specifically see those pieces that I've told you. And that vision got me through the roller coaster of events that led to this unconventional life path. The house was on the market. We're going about living. I'm holding this vision of myself working outside at a picnic table in warm weather in a t-shirt and jeans in the sun. And I'm holding that. And at the end of August, we actually went and purchased our brand new fifth wheel RV. And the dealership said they would store it for us for 2 months. So we had all of September and all of October. October 30th was like the deadline. We had to move that RV from the dealership. So I started to research other storage options, even though that was a backup plan, because in my mind, we were headed south on November 1st. In my heart and in my mind, that was the deadline I had. And a lot of the mindset work and the studying that John and I had done, as I mentioned before, in this CD series on mindset and the law of attraction, they talked specifically about not setting dates. And so John kept saying to me, don't hold that date. Don't make that date mean anything, right? And I'm like, no, we're out of here. November 1st, I'm not spending another winter in Western PA. Like, I'm going to Florida. Now the dates are starting to come into play, right? Like, we've got 2 months for this. I want to be out on November 1st. We're continuing to prep for the garage sale. Again, we're continuing to work. I'm still blogging for Veg Inspired. Like, life is still happening. We're still living the regular standard American dream life. You know, we're going out to eat. We're meeting with friends. Like, we were living. And on September 14th, it was the morning of the community garage sale. I was doing some last minute touches, getting things looking pretty, right? Moving some furniture out into the yard. And it was a nice, beautiful day. And the phone rings. And it was our real estate agent. And so I get John and I put her on speakerphone. And she says, Kathy, we have an offer. Those were the words we'd been waiting to hear. But as those words came out of her mouth and went into my ears, fear washed over me. It was happening. Our dream life, the path forward was happening. I'm shunned. I'm shocked. I mean, I wanted an offer. These are the words we wanted to hear. John's looking at me from across the table. And we're just not saying anything. And our real estate agent was like, hello, you guys there? And she said, it's not the best offer. It's not what you wanted, but it's good. And I think you should really consider it. And so we told her we would talk about it and we would call her right back. And so we sat at our table. Now, remember, everything's out of the house. We're getting ready for a garage sale. And so we had a desk that my computer was on, and we had a desk chair, and then we had a camping chair because all the other furniture had been taken out to the yard. And John's sitting in the chair and I'm sitting in the chair, and we look at each other and he grabs my hand and I'm like, if we're going to leap, this is the time. And those butterflies that I mentioned earlier in the episode, they are just pulsating. Like, they are just fluttering so hard. And I'm trying to hold the vision of me at the picnic table working while trying to leap and just knowing that it's all going to work. We're holding hands. We call her back. We accept the offer. We go and we have an amazing garage sale. We're so excited. People are like, oh, where are you moving? And we're like, well, we're selling our house and we're moving into an RV to travel the country. And they're like, oh, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go first? And what I should have done was I should have had a little jar. I probably needed a bigger jar. And for every time someone at that garage sale said to me, oh my gosh, my parents wanted to do that. Oh my gosh, my husband always talks about doing that when we retire. Oh, my aunt and uncle wanted to do that, but they didn't get very far because they waited till they retired. And if I had $1, if I had taken $1, a quarter, whatever it is, and put it in this jar every time someone said that, I would hold on to that jar as a reminder that we need to move and take action on those things in our heart. See, John and I knew life was short. Like I said, we'd had losses in our lives. We had experiences. Like, we knew that this move was the move for us at the age we were. And so we did it. We held hands. We took the leap. So, and I'm not saying that you should go out right now and sell your house and you're going to have all the exact same results as us. What I'm suggesting is that as you're digging deeper into your heart and you're looking at where you were meant for more and you're looking at who you were before the world told you who to be, look at what the world is telling you is success. I want to fast forward through this story a little bit. You can get the whole story with the butterflies in the Absolute Vision book, and I'll drop it down below, the link down below. There's an ebook on my website, but I want you to understand the results of taking that leap of faith. So John and I made that leap of faith on September 14th, 2018. We moved into our RV on October 13th, 2018. And on October 29th, we hitched up the RV and we were headed south for the winter. We hit the October 30th deadline. We hit the November 1st deadline. And I sat there under the trees in Georgia, under those Georgia pine trees, those tall Georgia pine trees that you hear about in all the songs, working away at the picnic table on my iPad in jeans and a black shirt when I realized that I had seen it. I used visualization and I didn't even know that's what I was doing. I mean, maybe subconsciously I knew because I'd been listening to all this mindset work and all this law of attraction, but I didn't really know that holding that vision for what I wanted was making it all come true, was putting the pathway and the steps in front of me. So over the last 5 years, John and I have traveled from Pennsylvania all the way to the Florida Keys. We've gone all the way across the United States to Montana. That's the farthest west. I'm sorry to those of you that are in Washington, Oregon, and California. We have not been there yet. We do plan to get out there, but we just haven't yet. So Montana's the farthest west we've been. We've gone all the way to Glacier, Montana, and all the way down to Big Bend in Texas. So we've gone from basically the Canadian line all the way to the Mexican border line. We've gone all the way up to Maine, as far as you can go in the Northeast, right? All the way up to Acadia National Park. And we visited over 33 of the contiguous 49 United States. We travel and we explore the national parks and national park units along the trip. But one of the things that really came to me when I was preparing this is all of these milestones that we talk about, all of these amazing cities we've passed through, and all of these incredible national parks, Glacier National Parks, the Grand Canyon, Acadia National Park, the Rockies, all 5 of the Utah Mighty 5 national parks. We talk about all of those things all the time. Everybody always wants to know, oh, what's your favorite national park, or what's your favorite state? And so I was preparing this. I realized that some of the things that we don't talk about actually are the most amazing parts of our journey. And I want you to think about, here we are traveling sometimes the back roads of the United States. Right now we're in Tombstone, Arizona, outside of Tucson, and we went to Chiricahua National Monument. Chiricahua National Monument is amazing. It is beautiful. The scenery is incredible. We took such a fun hike. It was one of those hikes that has a little bit of rock scrambling, some a little challenging, but it wasn't overly challenging. It was beautiful. The views were beautiful. These amazing rock formations. I mean, look up pictures, which won't do it justice, but you'll get an idea. It's so far out into the country. One of I mean, I don't know enough exactly about like the parks that are the most furthest away, the most, I don't know what the word I'm trying to say is. I don't know which parks are the least attended or the ones that are furthest away from major cities, but this one's pretty far. It was an hour and a half from where we are, and we are an hour and a half from Tucson. And I'm telling you this because as we drove through the Arizona countryside and we're looking and surrounded by mountains on all sides of us, it was beautiful. And people don't always get to experience that part. Right? We stayed in a little town in Utah, Green River, and they're known for their watermelons. This was over the summer, and we attended their watermelon festival. And so we got to eat these incredibly, probably the best watermelons I've ever eaten in my life. And it's because we were just happened to be in this little town during their watermelon festival, and somebody suggested we go and check out the watermelons. I mean, I could tell you countless places that we've stayed that have become favorites, little islands in Florida that, aren't near anywhere else, that have become like a place, a home for us. Little campgrounds where the people there, the people working there have become, I mean, it's a close-knit community, the RV living community, but you go in and you get packages from them, or you buy ice and you become part of what I would call a community and a family. And these are, people, we're all out here as RVers talking about these huge adventures, but are we really talking about the days in between? This is all part of that tapping back into being meant for more. This tapping back into slowing down. Slowing down is one of the biggest themes and one of the biggest shifts that I've made in my life. If you watch my Instagram reel, I just posted about slowing down, and I gave an analogy that's kind of gross, but totally relatable. So if you've watched that and you know what it is, I see you. I see you. And if you haven't watched that reel and you want to go into the analogy that you didn't know you needed, pop over to the Kathy A. Davis for the reel on slowing down and the analogy about slowing down that you didn't know you needed. But when you hear it, you will love it. But I want you to really consider, like, traveling the United States for us, the original, was very ego driven. How many national parks can we get to? How many states can we get to? And that's always what people want to know. Which ones are your favorites? How long are you there? Right? But when I tap into like my true heart and what my heart really loves, my heart loves the small towns. My heart loves the sitting by the campfire, working at the picnic table, grilling out and chatting with the neighbors. We were at one campground. I mean, I've got countless stories like this, but I have one that's so special. John and I were sitting outside, and we were sitting in our chairs, and the sun was kind of setting. It was a cool afternoon, and so it was just a beautiful day to be sitting outside. And our neighbors pulled up in their car coming back from wherever they were that day, which they told us where they were. They were visiting a national park. And as they walked to their RV, they kind of glanced back and said, "Would you guys like some company?" And we looked at each other. We said, "Sure." And they came out and they had their water cups and their chairs, and we got to talking, and we talked for hours. This is what it's about. We've met people from all over the United States, all over the world, actually. And we always seem to have little things in common with them. And it's a beautiful adventure. And it would be something we wouldn't be experiencing right now if we'd put off the leap of faith. Now, again, I'm not telling you that you need to downsize your house and sell everything and move your family into an RV to experience these things. But what if you went to the park every day and sat outside and read, or a couple times a week, or once a week? What if you slowed down in your hustle and bustle, and you said good day to someone, or asked them how their day was and actually wanted to hear how it was? What if you did an adventure on the weekends and you put aside time for your family? I mean, I talk a lot about this in the Veg Inspired programs, specifically the Meal Plan Accountability Club. One of the reasons why I don't meal prep is because on the weekends I'm adventuring. I'm spending time with my husband, and we're out on an adventure. And that adventure might simply be going to a farmer's market or going to a new grocery store to us, because that's always an adventure. If you have the fortune of shopping in the same grocery store every week, I promise you are taking it for granted, because every week I walk into a different grocery store and I'm like, why is the produce section over there? And so it is definitely taken for granted when you can walk through your grocery store and know where everything is, because sometimes getting groceries is our adventure. So I want to bring this back to what we talked about at the very beginning, and that's, what are those things in your heart, those seeds that were planted? And it doesn't have to be like mine. It might be writing a book. It might be doing some art. It might be submitting your art to a gallery. It might be becoming a mentor or working with rescue animals or planting a garden or cooking for a neighbor or volunteering at a nonprofit organization or donating to a nonprofit organization, your time. It might be cleaning out an old closet that's just you're holding on to things that you don't want. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but it's something that you keep putting off. You keep pushing that can down the road. And we talked about this a little bit in one of the previous episodes on how the idea of a podcast isn't a new idea for me. And I could have probably pushed it down the road a little bit more. But when I sat to think about it, right before I started it and right before I really dug into how it all works, I was like, I have things I want to say that can help people. And I want to bring that to life. What are you meant for? Where in your life are you meant for more? Where in your life are you still hiding behind the who you are because the world told you to be that? We could still be working 2 commuter jobs, living in a townhouse outside of Pittsburgh, waiting for retirement or waiting for the leases on our cars to be up or waiting for that really good offer that was over asking price or waiting for all the debts to be paid off or waiting for my student loan to be paid off or waiting. We could still be waiting, but we didn't. We took the leap of faith 5 years ago and we have no regrets. And so I ask you, where are you waiting? And how can you take one step closer? One step closer to that dream in your heart. You can peel back one layer of who the world told you to be and be more you. I'm committed to being more Kathy this year, and I hope this inspires you to commit to being a little bit more you. Until next time, live in the moment and enjoy every day. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Kathy A. Davis podcast. If you found value in this or want to leave us a review, I invite you to do so. Also, share this with a friend, family member, or anyone else you think would benefit. Until next time.